The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, healing. Sponsored by Brave Heart Workshops. Live with Jill Reynolds. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like our page. Share it. Subscribe to it now and click the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming shows.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing, sponsored by Brave Heart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today from the Nashville area is Tina Gallo. Welcome to the show, Tina.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Jill.
Well, we're so grateful that you could come on. And you know what? I'd like to begin by just reading just a little tiny bit of your bio, and then we'll show the rest on the screen. So Tina is an award-winning actress, author, drama coach, and an inspirational speaker at women's events. She has extensive TV, film, commercial, and theater credits. In her early 20s, she toured with Frank Sinatra for 2.5 years, selling his merchandise during his performances before pursuing her own acting aspirations. So we're going to stop there. And Tina, on this show, we love the opportunity to inspire hope, health, and healing in our listeners' lives. So what we believe is that when Jesus walked the face of the earth, he shared stories, accounts, and parables for the purpose of the listeners hearing them, that their lives would be transformed. So if you're willing to connect the dots of your story and bring us back to when you were a little girl and share with us how your life has transformed with good things and with hardships and burdens in your life, so that hopefully as the listeners hear your story, it will bring transformation in their lives as well. So would you take us back to little Tina?
Oh my goodness, what a great question. I love it because we didn't plan anything. I didn't know what we were talking about. So sure, it's interesting. I can answer quickly because I'm currently writing my book. So I've been kind of going down memory lane. But well, to start with, I always knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I used to sit on Saturday mornings and just watch Shirley Temple, Doris Day, Judy Garland, all the musicals, just dreaming to be an actress one day and to be a part of that whole thing. I just loved it. I was in baton twirling and I took tap dancing, and we would put on plays in the backyard and charge the neighborhood and do all of that, and had a lot of fun. If you were a relative, you would have to endure when you came over. I would put on my go-go boots and have a hairbrush as my microphone and put a towel on my head to make believe my hair was long, and I became Nancy Sinatra singing, "These boots were made for walking." But that was a wonderful memory, and I enjoyed all of that. But at the same time, we lived in a really nice suburban area in Woodbury Heights, New Jersey. I'm originally from Philadelphia, but it was a beautiful area. Divorce was not common in the time. And I was raised, I'm Italian dad with 3 brothers. House got loud a lot, but my mother just really did abandon us. My parents were very different in age. Like, there was a big gap in their age, but because of her own brokenness, she just really was trying to find herself. And so, she might come and stay for about a month, and then I might not see her for 8 months or a year. And so it was very, very difficult. And this was between the ages of like 6 and 10 years old. So that was really difficult, and it started affecting my identity and my security as a child because it was so unstable. And then you would see, going through puberty, I would have to go to the school nurse and learn things, and, because I didn't have a mom to go to. And so I would see the other moms fussing over their daughters, and all of that just, it really impacted me at that time. It was very difficult. I think it's one of the reasons I at that time I became very extroverted. I'm really not an extrovert. I'm sort of in the middle. Love my quiet time, love to be around people, but I'm in the middle. But I became very extroverted, performing, I think, just seeking the attention and wanting to feel special. And I guess that was my way of finding some kind of solace in being able to do that.
Well, thank you for your vulnerability. So, what was the age differential between your mom and dad? About
They were 30 years apart.
wow, and
Yeah.
so at your dad being so, what? How old was your mom when she had you then, Tina? Do you
Oh
know?
my gosh, she was probably 19 or 20.
Okay, so
I was in, I had an older brother. We were 18 months apart. Yeah, she was a
yeah,
kid herself.
so a kid. So at 18, 19, 20 years old, she just didn't want to sit at home raising four kids, right? She
Yeah.
wanted to go out and sow the wild oats, as they say, and
Yeah, so that
find her
probably
own.
started in her latter 20s, I would think. Yeah, 30 years old for sure.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So that's hard. And so then your dad has to raise all of you and go to work and try to play that whole role of mother, father, wearing different hats and breadwinner and stuff. So with all of this then, and so you again seeked that attention and loved to utilize acting and plays and theater. As you went through all of this, can you share with us what other types of burdens that you experienced then through that childhood and then going into your teen years yourself?
Do you mean how it impacted me? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so it's to me like a burden would be sometimes you grow up and you take on the burden of busyness or feelings
Yeah.
of not good enough or eating disorders. Sometimes we go into drugs or alcohol or we act out sexually. We do things in all different ways
Yeah.
when we're
Yeah.
trying to fill voids in our life.
Yeah. Well, it was difficult because I started taking on the role of mom too, because again, I had a younger brother and then one was a baby. So that was really difficult. That responsibility fell on me, and I was just a child myself. Um, Probably later on, I mean, probably once I started running away. I started running away from home. That would probably be the first thing. I was seeking, I was seeking unconditional love, and I was seeking validation. So I did start running away, looking for something in my life. And I really do thank God that I met the Sinatra entourage, because I think they really saved my life. When I went on the road with them for 2 years selling Mr. Sinatra's merchandise, that got me on the track to understand that I needed to go to school. As it was said to me, you need to find out if you have any talent, kid. And so that got me on the track of seeking and doing the research to get myself into acting school. And then, things started lining up. So later on in my early 20s, though, when I finally made it to Hollywood, I was getting into the drinking scene. This was the early 1980s. Cocaine was everywhere. I mean, Coke, forget Florida, Hollywood, you couldn't go to a party or anywhere. It was just there. And a lot of us were dabbling with it because the mindset too is, we always wanted to be 10 pounds thinner on camera. And I was on the soaps, and it was a whole comparison thing and an identity thing. And, it was just very distorted thinking, looking through the wrong lenses, which is what I'm writing about in my book, Unfiltered.
Well, and
So
I can relate.
yeah,
I'm 68. And
yeah,
I left San Diego actually in 1980. And when
yeah.
I left San Diego, I was 98 pounds and I was a crack cocaine addict and an alcoholic.
Ah,
I've been clean for 41 years now. And so I was in the opposite end of the industry. I ended up in the music industry. So I was in LA with all the R&R conventions, record and radio. And my roommate was the #1 disc jockey. And she ended up going on to become an anchor woman in LA. And so I was back and forth to LA, and one of my girlfriends married the son of the president of WEA Electric Records, and then he became the president of DreamWorks. So, we were in that whole scene too, and cocaine was everywhere.
it was everywhere.
It was
I mean, it
everywhere.
was just everywhere. It was on set, it was off set, it was at every party. So I would say, as far as a vice goes, since you brought that up, my drink of the day was a champagne cocktail and another toot. Depending on where I was at the moment. And that's what really started my journey of seeking the Lord. After a couple of events had happened, I started thinking, wow, I'm really into health and nutrition, but yet I'm tearing myself down. And I started doing a lot of reflecting at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, just again, part of that was seeking that same validation, wanting to be seen, wanting to be noticed, wanting to be accepted.
Well, and cocaine, for those who, hopefully a lot of people haven't tried it, but it does bring you out of a shell. I mean, it's a kind of a dysfunctional shell where if you are somewhat introverted, you become quite extroverted when you're on cocaine. And you're more
Yeah.
talkative, and you think you're on top of the world when you're really not.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
think you are.
And all I can say is I thank God I don't have a super addictive personality. It wasn't every day, but it was enough.
Yeah.
Definitely,
So you're in the Los Angeles area, and so where did you come to find Jesus then? Did you end up going to a church? Did someone talk to you about the Lord? Where did God come in?
I lived in Marina Del Rey, working on General Hospital at Gower Studios, and God really was pursuing me. He really was pursuing me. And what happened? I was raised Catholic. I knew about God. I did all the religious things in the Catholic religion, but I didn't really have a relationship with God. And it was interesting. One day, my brother called me, and he had asked me a question. He said, he was really serious and deep. And he said, "So let me ask you a question, Tina." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "So how do you get to heaven?" And I just shirked it off and I started laughing. I said, "Well, Frank, I don't know. I guess you die and you go to heaven." And I just really brushed it off. But it kind of stayed with me. And then after that, I received a card in the mail. It was just a little note card. And this woman, she was she was my Aunt Franny, but through like a marriage situation. And I knew she was a solid Christian. I knew a little bit about her, but she wrote me this card, this note, and I was reading it, and it said she saw me on TV. I looked beautiful, but at the very bottom, it said, "God bless you." Now, I've heard those words all my life, but this became three-dimensional in my heart. So that was another. Then another time, after an incident happened, I was at Connie Stevens' house, the actress Connie Stevens, and we used to hang out with Jerry Buss, the owner of the Lakers, and all this stuff. And I left this party and drinking and driving. I don't know how I made it back to the marina from Beverly Hills, but I did, by the grace of God. And I to this day, I would think I probably had alcohol poisoning that night. I was so sick, so sick. And that's what led me to start thinking, what am I doing? What would my dad think? And you have everything you think you ever wanted. And yet, if it was all taken from me, I would have crumbled. And so I was so wrapped up in stuff and nothing was ever enough. And so I really started thinking about it. Anyway, my nails broke that weekend. And I always had a manicurist that would squeeze me in no matter what. And I called her over the weekend because I couldn't go on set Monday without my nails done. And they couldn't take me. And I was shocked. And of course, why, you couldn't take me? I mean, you always take me. But she could not take me. And so I drove down Pacific Coast Highway and I found this little salon that I used to see. I went in. One person there, she must have been the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life. She comes out, she was very Polynesian looking, gorgeous, had a beautiful countenance about her too. She was really glowing. And as she's doing my nails, she starts talking about God and Jesus. Now I'm starting to go, whoa, everywhere I go, I'm starting to hear about God and Jesus. But this particular day, reflecting on the weekend, feeling not great about myself, confused on why I'm doing what I'm doing when I think I have everything I want, I asked her. I loved her countenance. And what it was about this young lady was she seemed so confident about herself, but also who God was, like she knew him. And I asked her, "What do you do? How do I get what you have?" And she said to me, "Whether you're in the shower, whether you're in the car, wherever you are, just ask him to show you the way. And I promise you he will." And I went out in my car afterward. I wish I knew her. I'd love to thank her, but I started crying in the car. And from that day on, I kept asking Jesus, show me the way, show me the way. If you're really real and I want what she has, show me the way. And he just set it up. Well, my contract was up after 2 years. I didn't resign. I went back to my dad, really soul searching. Number 4 or 5 or how many, I was flipping through the channel, couldn't sleep. It was the middle of the night. God meets us where we are. Another actress is on and she's beautiful and she's talking about God. And I'm like, who is this? And I started really listening to her. And I could resonate. It was really resonating with me. The whole Hollywood thing she was talking about led me to pick up the phone at CBN. It was CBN. Now I know. And I kept calling and I couldn't get through for about an hour. And I said, my last try, and I got through. The guy started getting me to talk. I was trying to get out of the conversation, but he was so skilled and he had a very calming voice that really seemed to care about what I had to say. And before I knew it, I accepted the Lord on the phone that night. Yeah.
Thank God for Christian Broadcasting Network. I mean,
Well, yeah. And just to add, not to cut you off, but what's so ironic about that too, many years later, like maybe 8-10 years ago, I winded up doing an interview on that show called The Hollywood Dream or something all those years later. And I got to share a little bit of that story. So, yeah.
Wow. Praise the Lord. And what year was that? Do you recall the year that was, Tina?
That I got saved, born again? Yeah, definitely. 1986.
86. And that was, you were back now in New Jersey at this time that you said?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what I was going to be doing. And because I was offered to re-sign my contract. I didn't do that. Well, I also found out going back, I had to go back to finish one show. It was with Jay Bernstein Productions, but it was with Stacy Keach called The New Mike Hammer. And I had signed to do an episode of that. And the reason I was having an issue is these girls in the role that I took had to dress very risque. That didn't faze me pre-salvation.
But after salvation, you
yes,
were like,
it was really working on me. And I was like, wow. But as I was driving back, I decided I would fulfill my commitment because Hollywood's small. I didn't want a bad reputation either. And so all those things, I was still toying about what I would be doing. And on my way back, I found out I was pregnant. I kept getting sick on the road. And I stopped off, I think it was Oklahoma, and went to a doctor. And found out I was pregnant. And I knew when I came out, I had no decision to make. I was having this child. I was going to do things God's way. But I knew my life was about to change. And
were you a single woman at that time?
Yeah, I was. So I was involved in my relationship, but I wasn't planning marriage or anything at that point in time. So a lot of things were changing. I was changing friendships. I was seeing people differently. I know they cared about me, but it was the world that I was in. And they said, Tina, just have an abortion. I mean, you're climbing up the ladder, your career's taking off. Come on, you just did The Love Boat, Murder, She Wrote. Now you're doing this. You can't have a baby right now, and that wasn't an option. I already knew what I was doing.
The Lord had already convicted you.
Yeah. So I was looking at the relationships I was in as well. And I was trying to find my way. And I knew God, I just knew in my spirit, God had another way. Didn't know the scripture about God having a plan for you, but I knew it in me that things were about to change. And I didn't know how or what I was going to be doing. But I knew one thing. I wanted to learn everything I could learn about God. And I couldn't do both at that time. There was just no way I could live like I was living in Marina del Rey, California, keeping these friendships and try to learn about God. And I didn't know about churches or anything out there at the time either. So
the Lord had a whole plan for you.
He sure did.
So your unplanned pregnancy, did you end up with that child's father, or did you go off onto your own?
For a while, we did. Mm-hmm. What's really interesting about that, he was a lot older than me.
Okay.
And so we were introduced through the Sinatra group. So we did, because the Aunt Franny I told you about that sent me the little card said I had to marry him. I found out I didn't actually have to. It wasn't a horrible thing, but it wasn't probably a marriage, a marriage should have really happened, ordained by God. So I was in that marriage for a while, but I was young. I had my son Daniel, and he's a great blessing in my life. So it was never a mistake by any means.
How old is Daniel now?
I was 27, so I guess he's 34 now. 34. Yeah, he was born in 87.
So then take us on the next step. So you were with Daniel's father for how long, and then where did you go after that?
Oh my goodness, we were about 5 years in that marriage. It was hard for me. It was very, very hard for me. I wind up being a director at a school called Jante Modeling and Acting, and I was teaching and guiding at that time and finding my way. To be honest with you, there was a short period of time I wind up on food stamps. My whole life changed. I was really low on cash now. That was another thing I did in California. I was advised at the time I had a personal manager, but to have a business manager. Because they would put me on an allowance and help handle monies. And I thought I knew everything at the time. So I don't need someone to give me an allowance of my own money. And I did not listen to anyone. And I was spending money like water on everyone, once again, to be accepted, to be noticed, looking back. And so I didn't handle anything correctly. And so that money disappeared fairly quickly. But, fast forward, I eventually, when I moved to the Tennessee area, I got into real estate, and I was very successful at that for about 15 years until God called me back into giving me my love, my passion right back to me. And I've been back into the industry now doing faith-based and Christian, and I have my own school, which I'm so proud of.
What's it called? What's the name of
the
your
Nashville Studio of Method Acting? Because I trained with some of the greatest teachers personally. Uta Hagen. I didn't actually get to work with Lee Strasberg. He had just passed away, but I worked with the people he trained to teach. And I studied with Stella Adler. I worked with Sandy Meisner. So these are considered masters under the Stanislavski system. And so I'm very grounded and rooted in that for 10 years of my life. Even more. And then I went off to Jack Waltzer. So, I noticed in the Nashville area, it wasn't quite as respected. They call it method. And every time I heard about it, it seemed like it was some negative. And in New York and LA, it's far from that. So I started prying and asking questions. And as people were answering these questions, I realized it was a lack of knowledge. It was through probably training or hearsay. And so something rose up in me and I wanted to bring it to Nashville, and I started a school here. And then after COVID hit, and I was hit by the tornado, I started teaching online about 2 years ago. So I have students from all over, to include Canada, and we're having a blast. And even interesting in that, I don't even advertise on my website that I'm, Christian, and I don't advertise a Christian school, but God is bringing in students with a heart for God that want to bring him glory in their work. And I get amazed every time I see that. We pray together. They're like family. Everyone encourages each other, but we seriously do the work. Wow. It is the work, and it is authentic, and they're very serious actors, and they are professional. They're getting paid for the work as well. So I'm just so proud to be a part of it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So now, two questions is, how did you end up what brought you to Nashville, and did you remarry and have other children?
I did get remarried. And then we moved to Clarksville, Tennessee first in 1999. And then I got divorced. He ran back to New York. And so he's remarried, and I'm raising my son on my own since he's 9. He's now in college, and then he's going to go on to law school. Mm-hmm. So proud of him. He's an Eagle Scout. So he's done really well. I think we've been a great team together. And then I moved down to Nashville once he became Eagle Scout, and I knew he was going to go to college here first, which he is. I'm in Nashville. So I moved here probably 2017, I think. So about 4 years, okay. Right when God called me back to the industry. I started there and came down. Yeah.
So you have 2 sons now, right?
I do.
Sons. So yes. 34, and Daniel is how old?
Daniel's the one 34, and my younger one is 23, Aaron.
23. So you got two boys.
I do, and they're very, very close.
Awesome.
So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful story. I'd love for the audience, I'm going to transition over here to your bio and headshot. So here is Tina Gallo's full bio, and she's got her website here listed so you can reach out to her and find her, so you can definitely check out the services she offers. And then this is a flyer of the film festival called the Branson International Film Festival, which is coming to Branson, Missouri, April 21st to 23rd, which is next weekend. And Tina has something she's going to share, which she's going to be doing at that film festival. You can still get tickets by going to bransonfilmfestival.com. You can get general admission or VIP tickets. And if you get a VIP ticket, you could use that to do this modality with Tina. If you don't get a VIP ticket, you can buy this one ticket by itself and do this one modality with Tina. So I'm going to bring it back on. So Tina, can you share a bit about Actor's Voice and what that is and what you're going to be doing at Branson Film Festival?
Oh, absolutely. I'm really excited about it too. It's my first time attending, and I was very honored to be asked. I'm going to be one of the coaches and judges. So what they're doing for the first time this year, it's very similar to the television show The Voice, which is for singers. Now, in that show, where it's going to be a little bit different, we're not going to have our backs to the talent because we need to see their expression and that type of thing. So from my understanding, we will face the talent. So the talent will come on and they will audition, and they'll do like a 3 to 5 minute monologue, I believe. And then we will, the judges, get to choose like a team from the talent, like they do on The Voice TV show. And then we build our individual team. And then I'll spend a day coaching my team, and the judges will spend a day coaching their team. And then they'll come back and we'll perform. They'll perform the scene that I give them. And something very special and dear to me, I have to say, Deborah Watson had contacted me, and when we were discussing scenes, and she decided, she said, I'm going to give you a scene for you to utilize for your team. And it's from David Starr. Well, David Starr is a film that I got cast in this year, and we were going to film this year. Matt Murray wrote it. He was the writer of it, and I believe he was going to direct. I'm not sure if he was directing, but I got to know him after I got cast, and we became very dear friends, and I just absolutely adored him as a person. He caught COVID. He had other things that were going on and issues, so he did pass away, and it was very heartbreaking. So anyway, I don't know what we're really actually going to do with the film, but Deborah had shared with me that he had submitted it to the festival, the screenplay, and it was nominated. And so I get to honor him, and we're going to honor him by doing a scene from that.
Wow. And
I'm just so honored by that. So it's pretty much, then the teams will compete. And then I think there's a virtual audience as well, and they can go on like American Idol and vote for who their favorite team was. And there'll be a team that wins. And so it's going to be a lot of fun.
I understand. I don't know if it's the whole team or an individual, whoever the winner is gets. I think I heard, and I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me. I think I heard they get something like 6 weeks of acting classes, and then the possibility of being able to be cast into an upcoming film of someone's. I don't know. They have that possibility then. Is that correct?
Yes, I did throw 6 weeks into the hat to offer that. So I'm offering 6 weeks of class time in our class as one of the prizes. I believe the film you're talking about is they're going to get to be on set with Kevin Sorbo is another. And there's some other things that go along with that too. But it's a nice package.
If they win and get the 6 weeks acting, do they have to be able to go to Nashville then for 6 weeks, or can it be remote?
Yeah, no, all of it is remote. It's all on Zoom right now, my classes. And I'll also be I do some intensive workshops. Those will be local, and that's starting in June. And I actually have students coming in from all over to attend the workshop, but the 6 weeks will be virtual. And, they're doing the work. I never knew that virtual could honestly work until I saw my teacher, who's actually 95 right now, still teaching. He studied with all the greats. I'm a lifetime member to the Actors Studio, and he is as well. And I saw him teach when he opened it up for some past students one time, and John Voight was in there, and one of my classmates, Gina Davis and Dustin Hoffman. And I'm just like, in 5 minutes, I thought, wow, we're like in a New York class. And I just needed that visual. And that's what helped me to realize that I could actually do this kind of teaching online. So it would be virtual for them. Yes.
So anyone that has had a heartbeat for wanting to act, they can go on your website and they can sign up to be in one of your classes? Is that?
They can't immediately sign up because it's very serious work.
Okay.
So what I'd like them to do is contact me, and then we do a phone call. I don't like to call it an interview, but I like to get to know what your goals are, what your experience is.
You do a needs assessment. You do an assessment of them, and they assess you and just see if
we're a good fit.
If you're a good fit.
Yeah.
And do you have different levels of your courses? Do you have like beginning, intermediate, and advanced?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You will come in and you'll do that as part of the work. It works that way in the classes. You're doing these exercises. You learn from watching other actors as well, but you work every week. You'll work at your level. Even if you're doing the same exercise, you'll work at your level. And that's how we always did the work in the conservatories that I went to.
I have a big question.
And they're people of all ages. I even have, if the children are professional and have worked in the industry and are working in the industry, I mix everyone.
Wow. I have a big question that I always wondered about, especially in today's technology where there's teleprompters and all that kind of stuff. Does a person that wants to become an actor, and you talk to them and you say, hey, this could be a really good person, but they really have a hard time with memorizing lines. Is that a must? Do you have to be someone who's really good at memorization to be an actor?
You need to memorize.
You have to memorize.
Because, well, let me say it like this. Stella Adler always used to say to us, acting's about everything but the words. So you're going to work on character building, but yes, you do. Because even if it's theater or it's film, you have to know your lines. But we work with techniques. If someone is struggling with that, there are several different types of techniques that can be applied.
Okay.
But once you understand your character and really know your 6 steps and just understand character, and then you start working on those words, they come naturally. If you have a good writer, it's going to flow. It's going to work with character.
Okay, that's good to know. I just, I wish so much that my granddaughter, my one granddaughter particularly, could do this, but her parents are my son and her mom are so busy, like putting in so many hours. I don't know how they'd ever get him to a studio, but my little granddaughter, you'd get a kick out of her, Tina. She's going on 9 this year, but back 2 years ago, I think it was, maybe it was like 6-ish, 7. My son was reading her the Bible story, Samson, and it's about an 8-page storybook. And he got to the first page, and right in the middle of him reading, she took off and said the whole story. Like she had the whole thing memorized.
Wow.
Without looking at the book. And then she came to Branson, and of course the Sight and Sound Theater here is the big Christian theater where they put on all of the biblical stories. Jesus is playing right now. You would love to see Jesus. It's amazing.
Oh.
So when she came to visit me, I said to her, hey, I got some tickets to us to go see Samson. Would you like to go? And she goes, oh, Grandma, I want to go so bad. And then the day we were leaving to go, she said, Grandma, how long is the play? And I said, about 2.5 hours. She goes, 2.5 hours? I can do it in 8 minutes. She goes, I got it down in 8 minutes. What have they done? I can do this play in 8 minutes. And she's just a stitch. And what blows my mind is when she was 4 years old, she had a little placemat that had all the presidents of the United States. And she wanted to get her ears pierced. So her mom says, well, memorize this and we'll see if you can get it. So on President's Day, she had all 50 memorized. She just went like all in order. Boom, 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 boom. She got to the 50th president. She goes, Okay, I got it done. Let's go get my ears pierced today.
Oh, well, that speaks a lot about her personality. She's a bottom line, let's get it done kind of personality.
Yeah. And then the last but not least is I loved it just like you. Like you said, you loved musicals.
Yeah.
My daughter-in-law surprised her about a year and a half ago and brought her. They live in St. Louis. They brought her to the theater and she said, do you know where we are? And she looks around and she goes, The Sound of Music? Are we at The Sound of Music? And my daughter-in-law says, yeah. And she goes, oh, good. I can't wait to perform. And she goes, I know. And she goes, I'm in the play, aren't I? And my daughter-in-law says, no, we're coming to see it. And she goes, why can't I get on stage? I know all of the songs.
Aw.
Is that a natural or what?
Yeah,
She's
she wants to act. You should get her in training.
Oh, I know. I don't think they have time to take her. But anyway, enough of that. I have been so privileged to meet you. And Tina, I'm just praying that people that have gotten to hear your story today will click on your website, connect with you for that needs assessment, and then go from there. But for sure, come to Branson, get your tickets, and meet Tina in person. She's going to be doing the actor's voice on Thursday, April 21st. It's only $50 to be an actor's voice. So sign up today and join us in Branson. Thanks so much for joining us today, Tina.
Thank you for having me.
Bless you. Bless you.
You too. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Welcome to the Connection Show, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops Live with Jill Reynolds. MyPillow, our show's featured affiliate partner, thanks you for your support. Stand with Mike Lindell by shopping at MyPillow. To receive a free gift, make sure you use the promo code BRAVEHEART when you check out and receive up to 66% off select items. MyPillow guarantees the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own. Drop into mypillow.com/Braveheart today. To check out faster, use your cell phone to scan the QR code and click on the website now to order. Go to mypillow.com/Braveheart and order today. Thanks for joining us today on The Connection Show, where we bring you stories that will transform your life. The Connection Show would appreciate your support. Please go to either our Patreon page or our PayPal Me Now link today. We love our podcast show guests and appreciate our listeners and YouTube subscribers. Please go to our YouTube channel called The Connection Show and Braveheart Workshops and subscribe now. Remember to click the gray bell in the All tab so you don't miss any upcoming episodes.